So yeah, I have a couple of questions, but I'll address it to Bharani this time, uh, because Bharani had given me the answer about the choice of the model. So Bharani, once we have decided the choice of the model, it could be, maybe you could probably get one single model or maybe two, three different models, and within those one or two models, you may have done multiple variants of those model by doing hyperparameter tuning, etc., to get the best fit. Now, my question is, for a client, in the perspective of we as the vendor and the client, what is the requirement do we do as part of our the processes? Do we have to give some kind of a report that these are the three models, each of these models I had 15 varieties that I have done, each of the variety, each of the combinations, this is the, so any such report is required in your experience? Does it really help, or ultimately the customer says, I don't care about all those things, make it ready, give me the final one, and put it in production, and I'm happy? So what is the general understanding or expectation of the client in this scenario?
Sure, Nitin. It really boils down to what kind of team the client has. If the client has a team of data science professionals or a chief data scientist, then another question might arise on why do they want to outsource? For various reasons, for security reasons. If they're building employee attrition model, for example, obviously they don't want their own team of data scientists to predict and say that, hey, this employee might resign in the next 6 months, this employee might resign in the next 20 days, whatever. Because what happens is people don't have the required maturity to keep these things as secret. And they might go and disclose saying that, you know what, a model has predicted that you'll resign in the next 2 months. So that employee, if wasn't even thinking about resigning, might start looking out for a job or might feel demoralized that my own company is kind of doing predictions, these kind of predictions. And so when those kind of clients outsource you, then they might expect you to showcase all the different algorithms that you have experimented with and the various hyperparameters that you have experimented and which setting has given you the best result, which algorithm, which set of hyperparameters has given you the best result. Maybe they would be interested to know that. And also they would be interested to know the performance. What is the kind of hardware on which you have run this algorithm or trained your algorithm? And what is the kind of hardware on which you have tested your algorithm? Okay, so probably they would be interested to know even that. But in most cases, barring these kind of exceptions that I've just explained, customer would not be really interested in how many lines of code you have run, what algorithms you have used, what are the hyperparameters that you have used. In most cases, they might not be even aware of such things. They will only be interested to understand that, hey, this is a business problem. By implementing your project, AI project, I am expecting this much as revenue, return on investment. Did I achieve that or not? In most cases, customer would be interested in that end result. So as opposed to spending too much of time in that documentation part, focus should be on whether the success criteria from business standpoint and economic standpoint are achieved or not. Anyways, machine learning success criteria, people will anyways evaluate as a data scientist. However, having said that, there are other reasons why documentation is extremely important. Because if you claim that you have achieved an accuracy of 98%, then in most cases, customers would expect you to replicate it, showcase that it's truly 98%. In this kind of a scenario, you need to document what is the machine learning algorithm which has given you 98% accuracy, and what were the hyperparameters that were tested, which has actually given you 98% accuracy. Not just that, you also need to document what was the operating system, what was the software version, Python version, or your SQL version, whatever, database version, etc. What was the compute that you were using? What was the memory? What was the processor? Were you using GPUs? All those should be documented along with all the libraries which you have used in Python, along with the versions of those. Only then will you be in a position to replicate and support your claim that this is accuracy that you have achieved. And in most of the cloud-based AutoML algorithms, where one need not even worry about what are the different machine learning algorithms which exist. You just apply your inputs and output to your algorithm to AutoML, and that would automatically experiment with plethora of models with bunch of hyperparameters with various permutations, combinations, and then give you one best model out. While it does that, AutoML would also document all the experiments performed and what is the best model, what is the hardware, what are the softwares that you have used, what are the libraries that you have used. Everything would be documented. So you can even forget about this aspect of documenting each and every part if you resort to cloud-based AutoML techniques. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you,
Nitin, and over
Bharani.
to you.
Yeah, so basically the rationale or the logical reasoning behind that particular question is traditionally when we talk about software deployment and you have a customer and a software service provider, documentation is a major chunk. The things are in ready, just put in production, it is working, but where is the documentation? I will not release the payment till the entire documentation, every line of code is explained with the commentary, etc. It is available to the client or not. So I wanted to understand the data scientist's role in that particular context. So thank you for clarifying that there, Bharani. Yeah. So Sharath, we have just a couple of minutes left. So could you, we'll try to, bring, connect the entire two edges. So we have the model development or the model creation with reference to supervised. So once it is created, Bharani just briefly spoke about cloud deployment, etc. So could you just touch base upon the types of deployments that are pretty popular and how you decide to choose a particular deployment methodology or a deployment tool? Can you just throw some light there?
Yes, Nitin. Thank you to bring up that question. That is another very essential aspect of productionizing an ML model, ML service. Because ultimately you need to assess on what is that solution being used for, in what conditions, how many people will be using that solution, whether it is being concurrently used, whether it be used sequentially, etc., will be something that we have to assess. Now, this job of assessing the requirements is not sole job of data scientist. It actually combines the capacity of data scientists. It combines the capacity of your IT team, because they ultimately have to decide your hardware, right? And that's going to be a very essential aspect on where your solution is actually going and sitting so that it supports the future requirements. And these basically tasks that we are talking about, right, basically can be defined as MLOps. So if you see this is the very, very popular diagram, which was given by Google. And it speaks about how essential is to assess the requirements with respect to the hardware and other software components that we are going to use along with your machine learning code. That is the reason why I was saying this is a very, very essential question. So when you talk about deployment, if I have to put it at a very simple, in simple way, the deployment basically consists of three aspects. I should say three aspects. One is your hardware. The other one is your software. The other thing that we are going to talk about is the data that you are using. Okay, so 3 components. Software is nothing but your ML code. If I break it up, the software that we are talking about is nothing but your ML code. This ML code is developed using the data that we have got in the historical cases. All this has to rely on the performance is to be relied on the hardware, based on the hardware, right? So as I mentioned, this is going to be very important aspect, right? And it can be deployed on local machines or cloud machines, like Bharani has already mentioned. We will be talking more about this, right? Probably in the next session. And yeah, that's a small gist of things that are going to come up your way, friends. Yeah, thank you, Nitin, for asking, bringing up that question.